Introduction. Gopī Gīta is part of the Rasa Pancha Adhyayi, the 5 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam that relate to Ras Leela. The body has 5 kinds of life airs, Panch Pran, residing in the heart, and among these 5, one is most vital. The 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are likened to 12 parts of a body. The 10th canto is the heart of that body. Within that heart, the 5 chapters that constitute Rasa Pancha Adhyayi are its 5 life airs, and among them, Gopī Gīta is the foremost. We begin our discussion of Gopī Gīta by remembering the chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam that describes the gopis' worship of Katyayani Devi Dasi to attain Krishna as their husband. The first verse of this chapter states, Hemante prate me mashi Nanda Braja Kumarika Cheru Havisyam Bunjana Katyayanyarchana Vritam. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:22-1. During the first month of the winter season, the young unmarried gopis of Gokul observed the vow of worshipping goddess Katyayani. For the entire month they ate only unspiced khichdi. The gopis who observed the vow to worship Katyayani were young and unmarried. What then was Sri Krishna's age at this time? Krishna had left Gokul at the age of 3.5, according to Srila Vyasadeva and Srila Shukadev Goswami. He was 7 years old when he lifted the mountain Giriraj Govardhan on the little finger of his left hand. After he lifted Giriraj, all the elders and their priests gathered together and told Nanda Baba, "You should not treat Krishna as if he were your son. He is actually not your son. He may be a demigod, or perhaps he is God, or someone like God. We have heard that Narayana himself has come in the form of Krishna, and perhaps it is true, so you should not treat him like an ordinary boy. Do not bind his hands, and do not chastise or punish him. He is only 7 years old, and yet he lifted a mountain like Govardhan. How is that possible? This is indeed mysterious." "Oh," Nanda Baba laughed, "I have heard that Gopas only become mature and intelligent at the age of 80. They cannot properly decide anything before then, because their minds are not fixed. Krishna is just an ordinary boy. God has far more good qualities than even the perfected saints. Such saints do not become angry, and they do not become disturbed by hunger, thirst, or any other material distress. They do not steal or tell lies. Krishna tells lies. He weeps and becomes angry. He plays tricks on people, and he is naughty in so many other ways. He sometimes cries for butter and sugar candy. If he does not get what he wants, he becomes furious and hurls all the items in the home onto the ground, and then scatters them here and there. This is conclusive proof that he is not God. In any case, even if you would insist that he is God, he is still my son. So I will admonish and punish him and treat him as a father would treat his child." Nanda Baba continued to laugh at the notion that Krishna is God. Then Yogamaya came, and by her influence, everyone present forgot this idea. This incident took place during the month of Kartik, when Sri Krishna was 7 years old, and it was just after Kartik that the gopis worshipped Katyayani. There are 2 groups of gopis, married and unmarried. Although it was the unmarried gopis who worshipped Katyayani, the married gopis like Lalita, Vishaka, and Srimati Radhika also had Purvarag, the gopis' tender love for Krishna before their first intimate meeting with him. This is because, although they had met him so many times, they always felt the excited anticipation of a first meeting. The unmarried gopis were somewhat younger than the married gopis. Srimati Radhika is 13.5 years old, and Krishna is 14. Lalita is 27 days older than Srimati Radhika, and Vishaka was born on the same day as Radhika. Rupa Manjari and Rati Manjari are a little over 12 years, so they are about 1.5 years younger than Krishna. This means that when Krishna was 7 years old, the gopis who were engaged in the worship of Katyayani Devi were about 6, but they already had love and affection for him. Their love for Krishna was not calm, amorous affection, because calm is not possible at such an age. They loved him deeply, but without calm. Krishna told those gopis engaged in worship, "Next year, during the autumn season, I will fulfill your desires." Then a year later, when Krishna was about 8 years old, he played his flute to call the gopis to the rasa dance. It is said that Krishna was in Vrindavan until he was 10 years old, and within that time he performed Rasa Leela as well as all his Vrindavan pastimes. In other words, he appeared to be 14 years old when he was actually only 10. And the gopis also appeared to be older than they were. Speaking in a humorous mood, typical of the playful nature of the maidservant of Srimati Radhika, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has said, "They grew up very quickly because they used to eat so much butter and sugar candy." In actual fact, the reason they appeared to be teenagers is because of the influence of Yogamaya. In their previous births, some of the young unmarried gopis had been personified Vedic scriptures called Shrutis, and they are known as Shruti Chari Gopis. Some had been personified Upanishads, and they are known as Upanishad Chari Gopis. Some had been sages from the Dandakaranya forest, Dandakaranya rishis. Some had been princesses, Rajkumaris, from Janakpuri, and some daughters of the demigods, Devi Kanya. Among the gopis, some had the association of the Nityasiddha gopis, and they also had Purvarag. These gopis easily entered the Rasa Leela, whether they were married or not. The unmarried gopis were already betrothed, and therefore they also thought of Krishna as their beloved in a paramour mood. On the other hand, the married gopis, who had Purvarag, but did not have the association of Nityasiddha gopis, were stopped from entering. The gopis described in the above-mentioned verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:22-1 had association of the Nityasiddha gopis. We know this because at the end of the month they invited Radhika, Lalita, Vishaka, Chitra, and all other such gopis to join them in their worship. This means that they had the association of those gopis, and consequently they could easily enter the rasa dance. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. The Nityasiddha gopis and those who had their association entered the Rasa Leela without difficulty, whereas the married gopis with sons or daughters were checked by Yogamaya. Even though they had Purvarag, they could not go. It appeared that it was their husbands who had obstructed them, but actually it was Yogamaya who did so. She had entered the minds of their husbands, fathers, mothers, and other relatives, influencing them to prevent the gopis from going. If Yogamaya had wanted them to join the Rasa Leela, she would have made duplicate forms of those gopis. In this way, the real gopis would have been able to leave their homes unnoticed and enter Rasa Leela. However, she could not help these gopis because they had some traces of consciousness that was not favorable for fully developed paramour love in relationship to Krishna, Parakiya Bhav. They still had some conception, this is my husband, and these are my children. This affection was not solely for Krishna, but was shared with many others. We are now beginning the devotional process. If our eternal spiritual form is that of a gopi, we will develop an increasing taste to serve as a gopi. We will gradually be able to perform sadhana like Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and in this way we will develop a yearning to be like the gopis. Now, in our present situation, by reading books on the subject, we must clearly define our goal. Success is sure if, as we read and remember, we long to attain that goal. I must have that mood one day. I will not accept any other goal. We must be completely uncompromising, not accepting any other goal, no matter who offers it. We should think, even if Krishna himself comes and wants to offer me an alternative goal, I will not accept it. Who can be so determined? Only those with the Swarup, intrinsic spiritual nature of a gopi, can act in this way. Almost all of the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have this kind of Swarup, although there were a few exceptions, such as Murari Gupta, who is Hanuman in the pastimes of Lord Sri Ramchandra, and Anupam, another eternal associate of Sri Ram. Hanuman and other elevated associates whose Swarup is different from that of the gopis have no taste for this subject matter, even if they hear about it. The same is true of Srila Haridas Thakur, because he was Brahma. According to the descriptions of his character in the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his Swarup was not that of a gopi. Brahma is the original guru of our sampradaya. In the 10th canto, 14th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, he prayed to attain the dust from the lotus feet of the Brijabasis, but he did not state clearly that it should be the gopis' lotus foot dust. Uddhava, on the other hand, specifically prayed for the dust of the gopis' feet. We see in Brahma Samhita that Brahma performed worship by means of both the Gopal mantra and Kam Gayatri, but that was only to gain power for creation, not to attain Gopi Prem. 1 year after Krishna made his promise to the gopis, on the full moon night in autumn, he looked at the moon and began to play his flute. He considered, our forefather, the moon, has a beloved other than his wife, Rohini. His beloved is Purvadisha, the eastern horizon. The most erudite Srila Vyasadeva, who knew how to apply all literary metaphors and ornaments, alankar, marvelously described this scene as follows. Krishna was thinking, the hands of our forefather, the moon, were smeared with kumkum. His hands, his rays, are decorating the face of his beloved Purvadisha without any difficulty, and she is shyly accepting that reddish ornamentation. Why should I not do the same? In other words, the reddish rays of the moon radiated throughout the forest, bathing the trees and the rivers and everything else in its red light. In that ambrosial atmosphere, thoughts of the gopis came to Krishna's mind, and he remembered his promise to fulfill their innermost desires. He pondered, by diffusing the reddish blue of his gentle rays, and by glowing with the effulgence of newly applied vermilion, Chandra, the moon, has reminded me of my promise, and has placed within my heart the inspiration to fulfill it. This is the perfect moment for me to do so. Then, on that full moon night of the autumn season, he played a beautiful melody on his flute, and the gopis came running to him. But when they arrived, he told them to return to Braja. A lady should serve her husband, he said, regardless of his qualities. Her husband may be poor or plagued with diseases, but she should serve him under all circumstances. At first, the gopis did not say anything in reply, But within their minds and hearts they questioned, "Does he really mean it, or is he joking with us?" They observed him closely as he tried to cleverly hide his real intention. It seemed that he was honestly expressing himself in a straightforward manner, but in fact he was not. Finally the gopis said, "You are our guru, and as such you are giving us so many instructions. We know that even in the presence of God, a person should serve his Gurudev first. So let us first serve you, our Gurudev, before we return and serve our husbands." In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Ye yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva prajamyaham, mama vartmanu vartante, manusya partha sarvashaha." Bhagavad Gita 4:11. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Sri Krishna was instructing the gopis and also telling them, "I am God, so you should obey me." The gopis replied, "We agree that if you are God, we should certainly obey you. But our first duty is to serve our Gurudev. When we have executed that order, we will obey your instructions to serve our husbands. Our second consideration is this. We know that God is our Father, God is our real husband, and God is everything. So if you are God, then you are both our husband and our Guru. In every way, if you do not accept our service, you will be guilty of acting against the principles of religion. You are giving us instructions on religious principles, but you should practice this yourself." At last, Ras began. Krishna danced with Srimati Radhika in the center of the circle of gopis, and at the same time he danced with each of the gopis comprising the circle. It is not that he expanded into as many manifestations of himself as there were gopis, because in Vrindavan all his pastimes are free from the mood of opulence, Aishwarya. Rather, he danced so quickly, like a firebrand orbiting in a circle, that it simply looked as if he were constantly and simultaneously dancing with each and every gopi. Had he expanded into many manifestations of himself, this pastime would have been Aishwarya Lila. Instead, he was engaged in human-like pastimes, Nara Lila. Many commentators have written that Krishna manifested his Kaya Vyuha, direct expansions of his personal form, when he was dancing in the Ras Lila. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this is not so. He refutes the idea that the expansions of Krishna's form performed this pastime, asserting that if his expansions had done so, it would be a Leela of Vaikuntha. He explains that in fact only Krishna's original form, Swayam Rup, performed this transcendental pastime. We thus conclude that Krishna moved like a lightning flash from gopi to gopi, dancing with each one in turn. Srimati Radhika saw that Krishna was dancing with her. Then, as she cast her gaze over all the other gopis, she saw that Krishna was dancing with each of them as well. Each gopi thought, "Krishna is dancing only with me." Srimati Radhika alone could see him with each and every gopi. Krishna's performance of Rasa Lila in this way, manifesting no Aishwarya by bringing forth expansions of his form, but in fact whirling from gopi to gopi, was certainly miraculous. Moreover, he performed many varieties of activities with the gopis as they danced together. He asked one gopi if she were fatigued. He gently wiped drops of perspiration from the face of another, and he fastened ankle bells on the ankles of another. With each and every gopi, he engaged in various interactions, and thus each gopi became maddened in their love for him. The gopis' madness here, in which they were intoxicated by their own good fortune, is called Saubhagya Mad. In this regard, Srimad Bhagavatam states, Tasham tatso bhagamadam vakshyamanam cha keshava prashammaya prasadaya tatraivantarya diyata. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29-48. Lord Keshava, seeing the gopis too proud for their good fortune, wanted to relieve them of this pride and show them further mercy. Thus he immediately disappeared. It is stated here that the gopis, as an entire group, exhibited both Saubhagyaman and Man. However, if we take a closer look at the meaning, it becomes apparent that Man was only exhibited by Srimati Radhika. Only she could see Krishna dancing with the other gopis. The other gopis did not see this, and thus they were intoxicated by their good fortune, in which they perceived Krishna dancing with them alone. When a hero, Nayaka, is controlled by a heroine, Nayika, the heroine thinks herself to be the most fortunate beloved. This fortune is called Saubhagya, and as it evolves, it brings her to Saubhagya Mad. Generally, Mad means intoxication through drinking, but Saubhagya Mad means intoxication from the pride of thinking, "In all of Braj there is no one equal to me in good fortune." In this state, the gopis become so proud that if they had been aware of Krishna's dancing with other gopis, they would have developed Man. Then, in that angry and sulky mood, they would have been completely unable to continue participating in Rasa Leela with the other gopis. Instead, each gopi was convinced that she had Krishna fully under her control, that he was captivated and controlled by her, and obedient to her every command. Krishna understood this and considered, "I have decided to sport with all the gopis and fulfill all their most cherished desires. But there is no hope of that happening unless they change their mood. Somehow their pride must be removed." He then saw that Radhika was no longer in the Rasa Leela. In her Man, she had abruptly left that place and was going elsewhere. Then suddenly Krishna also disappeared, and all the gopis began to search for him. Some commentators say that Krishna became invisible, but Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that he did not. Rather, he went to a nearby kunj and hid there. There were 4 kinds of gopis present in the Ras Leela on the bank of Jamuna. Swapaksh, those in Radhika's own Swa group, Paksha. Vipaksh, those in the rival group of Chandravali. Surit Paksha, those who were friendly toward Radhika. And Tatashta Paksh, those who are neutral to her party. Actually, Swapaksh can refer either to Radhika's group or Chandravali's group. For those in Radhika's group, Chandravali is Vipaksh, and those in Chandravali's group, Radhika is Vipaksh. Shamala is friendly towards Radhika, which means she is neutral to Chandravali. Bhadra, on the other hand, is friendly towards Chandravali and neutral to Radha. Within these 4 main groups of gopis, there are hundreds upon hundreds of subcategories, and all were searching for Krishna. The gopis in Radha's group could not see their Yuteshwari, group leader, Sri Radha, so they were searching for her as well as for Krishna. All the other gopis were searching only for Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 30, describes the gopis' search for Krishna and how they all became tadatmika with him. This means they became so absorbed in remembering his characteristics, such as the way he walked and how sweetly he talked, that they began to think that they themselves were him. The gopis became like mad persons, asking the trees, creepers, rivers, deer, and peacocks if they had seen Krishna. They asked the tulsi plant, but when tulsi did not respond, the gopis thought, "Oh, Krishna has warned her not to tell us where he is, and because she is the beloved, she refuses to utter a word." They asked the trees, but when they did not reply, the gopis thought, "These trees are male, and therefore they are Krishna's friends. He has no doubt told them not to tell us where he is. This is why they are remaining silent." When the gopis saw the creepers laden with flowers, they thought, "Krishna has touched these beautiful creepers with his fingers, and now they are so happy that they have no awareness of anything external. They cannot speak, because they have taken leave of their external senses altogether." At first the gopis concluded that Krishna was not to be found anywhere, and that he would not return to them. They were somewhat consoled, however, when they finally noted his footprints. They followed his footprints for some distance until, to their surprise, they saw another set of footprints. The Vipaksh gopis, the rivals of Srimati Radhika, were trying to guess whose footprints these were. They could see that the second set of footprints belonged to some gopi. They guessed that this gopi must have worshipped God, and as a result she had become so dear to Krishna that he took her with him and left the rasa dance. They did not think that her good fortune was the result of her worshipping Krishna, but worshipping God. Thus they spoke the following words: "Anaya radito nunam Bhagavan Hare Ishvaraha Yanno Vihaya Govinda Prito Yam Anayadraha." Srimad Bhagavatam 10:30-28. Certainly, this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead, since he was so pleased with her that Govinda abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. When Srimati Radhika's Swapaksh gopis saw these footprints, they immediately recognized them, as they were accustomed to serving her lotus feet, and knew the symbols on them. Therefore, seeing her footprints next to Krishna's overwhelmed these gopis with joy. After tracing the footprints a short distance, the gopis now saw only one set of footprints instead of two. They could not see the footprints of the gopi. They could only see Krishna's footprints, which were now an inch deeper into the earth. They assumed that when Krishna and this beloved gopi reached this spot, she had become tired and told him, "I cannot walk any further." He therefore took her up in his arms and carried her. Further on, the gopis noticed that in one spot the upper parts of the creepers were laden with blossoms, but that the lower part had far less, some having been scattered on the ground. From this they guessed that Krishna had seated his beloved in that place and decorated her with flowers. As the gopis proceeded further, they beheld that very gopi, alone and completely unconscious of her surroundings. She was rolling on the ground, bitterly weeping. "He nata ramana preshta, kvasi kvasi mahabhuja, dasyaste kripanaya me, sake darshaya sanidim." Srimad Bhagavatam 10:30-39. She cried out, "O Master, my lover, O dearmost, where are you? Where are you? Please, O mighty armed one, O friend, show yourself to me, your poor servant." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Madhavendra Puri used to repeat this verse, and as they did so, their hearts full of bhav, transcendental mood, tears would pour forth from their eyes. All the gopis, Swapaksha, Surid, Tatashta, and Vipaksh, then approached Srimati Radhika and expressed their sympathy, for it is the nature of women to feel compassion for someone weeping. Although Chandravali generally feels envy towards Srimati Radhika, when she saw Radhika weeping and rolling on the ground, suffering more than all the other gopis, even her heart softened. Another reason Chandravali felt sympathy for Sri Radhika is that she is Radhika's sister. Actually, they are cousin sisters, as their fathers, Chandrabhanu and Brishabhanu, were brothers. Srimati Radhika and Chandravali love each other, but there is also some rivalry between them. Chandravali is a little older than Radhika, but Radhika is more beautiful and qualified in every way. Upon seeing Krishna dancing with all the other gopis, and at the same time dancing with her, Radhika had left the rasa dance in a sulky mood, man. Yet when she was alone with Krishna in the forest, she wanted those gopis to be with Krishna and her. This is an example of Vyabhachari bhav, in which man and other bhavs rise up and subside, and sometimes combine with each other, one wave rising up and overtaking another wave, thus causing the water from both waves to merge. After that, the same process is repeated, and new waves appear. This is similar in the way to which Radhika's man disappeared due to her being immersed in Krishna's loving dealings with her. She then thought that all her Swapaksh gopis should come together. But since all the gopis were searching together, they all came. When the gopis found Srimati Radhika in this condition, they sprinkled some water on her lotus face. When she came to external consciousness, they asked her, "What has upset you? Why are you so overwhelmed and weeping?" "As I was wandering throughout the forest with Krishna," Srimati Radhika replied, "I told him that I was no longer able to walk." Why had she said that to Sri Krishna? It was not due to Saubhagya Mad, the pride of her incomparable good fortune. Rather, her deep contemplation was as follows: "My Sakhis have left everything for me. They have no purpose other than to serve me, yet I am here enjoying Krishna's company alone. This is not at all fair. If I arrange for all of them to come and join us, we can all enjoy Ras together. I should not be with Krishna alone." In the meantime, the other gopis had been gradually coming nearer and nearer. Krishna told her, "Quickly, come with me." "But I cannot see you," Srimati Radhika cried. Radhika's condition at this time is called Prem Vaichitya. Krishna was actually standing with her and worshipping her, yet she felt an intense mood of separation from him. She was unable to perceive that he was sitting right beside her. As the gopis came closer, Krishna thought, "If they see us alone together, they will become envious of Radhika, and everything will be spoiled. There will be no Rasa Leela. I cannot let this happen." At that very moment, Krishna disappeared from that place and hid himself in a kunj somewhere in the darkness. Radhika fell to the ground in distress, and it was then that the gopis found her. "What happened to you?" they now asked. Somewhat hiding her real bhav of selflessly wanting them to also dance with Krishna in Ras Leela, she simply told them, "I became maddened with the pride of my good fortune, just as you did. Now he has left me as well." Then, as one collective party, the gopis began to search for Krishna. Finally they decided that the only way he could be found was through Sankirtan, chanting his glories in a mood of deep separation from him. Thus they returned to the bank of Yamuna and began to sing Jayati Tedikam, the first verse of their Gopī Gīta.